In today's episode, I'm going to share with you my watch list for Monday morning and my game plan for the week ahead. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay it all out and make this as clear and as simple as possible. Here, let's jump onto the whiteboard for a second. So this is the goal. Obviously, we're focusing on day trading, and I have a profit target goal for this week. This is the second week of February of, guess what, $100,000. Now, that's a lot of money, I know, but here's the deal. I've been averaging $20,000 per day, and I don't think it's unreasonable, times 5, for me to come up at $100,000 this week. So now, what's the path to getting there? This is the number. Now, for you, you might have a goal for the week of $1,000. It might be a fraction of my goal, but the path to getting there can still be more or less the same. What we have to do first is we have to focus on the type of stocks we're going to trade, where we're going to get in, and where we're going to get out. And we have to, at all costs, manage our risk and cut our losses as quickly as possible. Now, in my episode last Sunday, I broke down for you the profile of the type of stocks I had made the most money on in January. And I said, if I see these types of stocks, Monday morning, Tuesday morning on my scanners, I'm going to be aggressive. And then I followed through with that. And you know what? Last week ended up being the best week of the entire year for me. So here's the thing with gaining momentum. Once you start to build up some momentum, you build confidence. You feel like, wow, we keep seeing these back-to-back huge moves. I would be an idiot not to trade them with bigger size. And so what I kind of notice in my own trading is that, I'll have these periods of sort of ebb and flow where when the market is, when the market's really cold, what essentially happens is, my P&L's kind of been on a nice upstretch. And then all of a sudden, I've got some good confidence and take a big loss. Right? So the market kind of has a correction. And after that big loss, I have a loss of confidence. So now I'm going to kind of be a little bit more cautious as I'm slowly rebuilding my account. But then once I've got some good momentum, right, I start to take more risk until inevitably, boom, another drop. So right now, I don't know, where I am exactly in this. I mean, I'm certainly in somewhere in this area. I know that this is a risk that I could catch a big drop at some point. But I don't know if, I'm right here and we still have a couple months left of huge profit before the drop, or, if I'm right at the top. So each day, on the one hand, I have to come in thinking about risk. I got to keep my risk in check. I've got to make sure I'm willing to cut my losses quickly if something doesn't sort of pan out the way I expect it to. But on the other hand, knowing that we're in this period with big momentum, other traders are thinking the same thing I'm thinking, especially those of us who traded through the 2022, 2023 bear market. I think we're all like, wow, the window is open again. I didn't know if I would have 6-figure days again. I mean, I thought I probably would at some point, but I knew for me to make $100,000 in one day, realistically, I need a stock to go up like $10 a share from 5 to 15, right? Something like that. Because, 10, 20,000 share position, you're not going to make 100 grand on 10,000 shares unless it goes up 10 points and you capture the whole thing. So you need that big rate of change. Now, certainly if you do 100,000 share position, you could make 100 grand in a smaller move, but not a lot of traders are capable of moving in and out of the market with that kind of size. And for my strategy, generally being pretty quick to jump in and jump out, I don't go that heavy. So for me, with smaller size, I do need a bigger move. All right. So in 2022, 2023, we weren't seeing those moves, but we are seeing them now. So this is when it's like, all right, we're seeing them. I got to step up to the plate. I've got to be aggressive. So if we jump onto the screen share here, you can see my calendar for last week. I finished with a remarkable $181,000 of profit. I'm kind of honestly blown away. This is the best start to a month I've had in quite a long time. I don't know the last time I had a start that was this strong. So now I'm at $181,000 on the week. And to be honest, I mean, none of these days were record-breaking days. I didn't have a 6-figure day, but I maintained a really solid average, right? I mean, gosh, it was a really solid average. So, $180,000 divided by 5. I was just every single day trading really well. The worst day was 18,000. Now, if we look back at the month of January, I finished at $407,000 of profit. And my best month was 165,000 here. And then the next best one was 122. But what this also tells us is that the last 3 weeks, have been really strong. Now, I have observed in the comments some people saying, man, I'm a little confused because I'm not seeing that, I'm not feeling like we are in a hot market right now. It's been really choppy. And so my first question for you is, what time of day are you trading? So let's look at my metrics and get a sense of when I'm trading. All right, so we're on the calendar view right now. I'm just going to go year to date. So we'll just do year to date here. And let's look at the time of day where I'm making the most. All right, so currently sitting at $584,000 on the year, which is fantastic. Average winners, $1,800. Average losers, $800. That's a great profit to loss ratio. Accuracy, 74%, almost 75. 3-minute long winners, 2-minute long losers, cutting the losers quickly. All right, that's all good. So let's look at time of day. All right, so the stock I made the most on so far is ALUR. That was familiar. QNTM and CDT, those were both this last week. Days and times. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Not nice. But look at the time of day. All right, so time of day here, we'll go by 30-minute window. And you can see that I sit down usually at 6:45. So I have a few trades between 6:30 and 7. But most of my trades, actually right now, are between 7. Well, they're between 7 and 10, basically. This half-hour window goes till 10 a.m. So from 9:30 to 10. And then after 10 a.m., I actually have losses right now. That'll probably change as the year goes on, but that's where we sit right now. So if you're someone who is sitting down at 9:30, potentially, or 9:45, then you're sitting down at the very end of the window where I've already booked my profit. I'm already up $30,000, $40,000 on the day, and you're just sitting down. So you're kind of missing, a big chunk of this window here where we're seeing some really good action. Now, I recently, this week, I had a high school student who was shadowing me. The local high school has a program where, the kids all go out to a local business, something they want to learn about. And so they asked if I wanted to participate, and I said I would. And so I had a high school student here, and he was sitting next to me while I was trading on Monday, and he was asking me all these questions. And as we were kind of going over the trades and looking at the calendar, he said, it'd been like maybe an hour, and it was like 10:30, 11. And he said, Ross, has the market, like, you haven't taken any trades in the last hour. Has the market really cooled off that much, or is it because we just weren't paying attention? And I said, well, to be honest, it kind of has cooled off, because here's the deal. For the strategy that I trade, what are we looking for? Volatility. What creates volatility? Typically breaking news. So we get breaking news. When does breaking news come out? For the most part, it comes out pre-market and after hours. Now, I could trade starting at 3:30, 3:45 for possible news at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., etc. And some people do, if that works for your time zone. Now, that doesn't work really well for me, just scheduled time of day, stuff like that. I'm choosing not to trade then. It's not because I can't, it's because it just doesn't fit with my schedule and lifestyle, which is fine. One of the nice things about trading is that you make enough money in a couple hours, you can be off for the rest of the day. Look, I understand there's some people that are like, I'm just going to make as much as possible. I'll sit at my computer for 18 hours a day, 16 hours a day, whatever. And then at nighttime, I'll trade Forex or cryptocurrency or something. But that's not me. So the answer is that after 9:30, what's happening is the market is responding to the stocks that did have news pre-market. Now, this week, we did have some really nice follow through at the open. And in fact, we did towards the end of last week as well. And I think that is related to the fact that there's a lot of traders out there who don't even know how to trade pre-market. And so they're just like, I see it in the comments. They're just like, I don't know. I mean, first of all, they start the comment with, Ross, I have to say, your style, on point, impeccable, fantastic. The beard, awesome. Your hair, incredible. With that said, and I always appreciate that, because it's like, I'm going to give you a little compliment, then I'm going to ask you a question. And so then the question is, Ross, how do I take a trade pre-market? Or how are you trading before the 9:30 opening bell? And I say, well, guys, I do have an episode you could check out here on YouTube about pre-market versus extended hours trading. But yes, you can trade pre-market. You have to change your time in force. And that's it. So anyways, I think that the fact that we're seeing momentum at 9:30 tells me that maybe there's a lot of newer traders coming into the market right now who just don't know that you can trade before the 9:30 opening bell. So coming into 9:30, whatever is hot, they're just like, oh, Robinhood app is saying this stock is up this much. I'm just going to jump on it and see if I can make some money. which is fine. And we're getting some continuation at 9:30, but the real moves, I mean, you can see, look, 9:30 has not been bad. 9:30 to 10. It's been better than 9 to 9:30. So, but then after that, it kind of tapers down. So that's my first question is, what time of day are you trading? Because I've noticed some of the traders who have had a tough week in the last week didn't start until 9:30. So they maybe got a little bit of action here, but then kind of immediately went into like the choppy zone. All right. Now, let's also, let's take a look at the stocks that I've made the most on just this past week. So QNTM, CDT, CJMB, CPIX, LIPO. So what I want to do here, I'll just move this to the side for a second, and let's just pull up each of these stocks. So CDT, what kind of company is this? Biotech. All right, so we're going to just start a little table here. Biotech. Oops. So we've got 1 on biotech. All right, so next one, QNTM. QNTM was the stock I made the most on. Biotech. All right, there we go. 2, biotech. All right, what was the next one? CJMB. CJMB is a recent IPO. So this is not a biotech stock, but a recent IPO. And recent IPOs can give us some nice momentum. So that's its own catalyst. Recent IPO. Now, if we got into a theme, we could see 10 recent IPOs that I made a lot of money on. Sometimes that'll happen. You have one that makes a big move and then 10 others make big moves. So just to play that out, is that going to happen in the weeks ahead? Well, let's jump back onto the chart and look at CJMB. So if we look at the chart on it, you could see that although it did make a big move, it retraced the move. So that kind of negates the strength that it had. And I think traders are not going to be as inclined to jump on another recent IPO. So next one, CPIX. So CPIX, pharmaceutical company. All right, guys, we got a theme here. Number 3. All right, number 4. Let's see what's next. LIPO. LIPO, pharmaceutical company. Number 4. All right, next one down. These are the stocks I made the most money on. BCTX. Take a guess. Therapeutics. Number 5. So 5 out of the top 6 stocks I traded were biotech. So some traders were saying, Russ, how did you know to be so aggressive on CDT yesterday when the news came out? I saw it was a biotech stock. I saw it as a pharmaceutical company with news at the top of the hour with a float of under 1 million shares, which there's only so many stocks with floats that low. And when I see that in a market like this, I'm going to be aggressive. Now, this went from $1.60 to $4 in like one candle, drops back down, and then rallies back up to $3.80. And then comes back down to $2.34. I almost thought right here that if we broke through 4, we were going to go into a parabolic short squeeze. We didn't pull away. But nonetheless, I had 144 million shares of volume. And I was probably one of the first people to see the stock, to see it as it popped up because of the tools that I'm using right here. So in fact, every single one of you guys who are members at Warrior Trading had an equal opportunity to see this stock at the same exact moment as me because I'm using the same tool. So I don't have any advantage. I see the stock at the exact same moment. The only advantage I have is the intuition of all the years of experience. So I know how to use the tool very well, but we have the same information in front of us. So I'm going to put a link at the top of the comments. I'll pin it and I'll put it in the description where you guys can do a 2-week trial. It's $20. And if you don't get $20 worth of education over the 2 weeks, then I've completely failed. So I encourage you to spend $20 to do a 2-week trial. You'll get 2 weeks of market data on our scanners right here. So when a stock hits the scanner, you'll see it in real time. All right. You'll also get the charts, the news feed, everything you're seeing right here. Plus, you'll get my live broadcast. So you can listen to me giving my market commentary. Now, my broadcast is not intended for you to use to just blindly follow me on trades. I don't encourage people to do that. And I'm always very transparent about that. By the time you hear that I'm already in the position. And we're all here to make money, right? So if you're just following me, you're always going to be in behind me. That's not a recipe for success. I would rather teach you how to use this tool so you can trade the same stock if you choose to, but you understand why you're getting in and you're managing your risk on your own. So when CDT first hit my scanner, would have hit right basically here. It's not loading right now. We're in weekend time, so it's I'm just not able to load it all. But anyways, So CDT would have hit the scanner basically right here. All of a sudden it hits the scanner. And the first thing I don't know that CDT is a tech stock when it first hits the scanner. I don't really recall, or I'm not that familiar with the company that I'm like, oh, that's a tech stock. So I have to click on it. I click on it. Immediately I see pharmaceutical. I see it's got news. And then what am I doing next? I'm pulling up my level 2 window and I'm pressing my hotkey to buy. It's that quick. Now, I'll tell you that this can be a little bit of a characteristic of a really hot market, that traders jump first and ask questions later. And, I'm no exception to that, right? So I see it moving and I'm like, if I don't get in this thing, I might end up missing this sort of big monster green candle. And then if it goes too high, I just couldn't chase it. So if it's starting to pull away, I may be inclined to say, you know what, I'm going to take a starter here. And if immediately I'm up 50 cents a share, I'll either, conservatively, you could just take profit. But me being aggressive, I'll double my position because now I know this actually is working and other traders are seeing it and it's going to probably keep going. So that's what I did on CDT. Now, my starter position might be bigger than yours, but nonetheless, it's just a starter position. And does this continue to work? So the biggest risk with, with jumping in a stock that first hits a scanner is, it's already popped up a little bit and maybe it dips for just a second. You buy right here and then immediately it just does like this nosedive. And this is a risk that's higher when a stock has lighter volume because you may have no problem buying if there's a big seller unloading a position up here, but then, so you can buy their shares because they're selling. But unless there's a buyer also interested in accumulating a position, when you turn around to sell, you may get a lot of slippage on your exit. So when you've got lighter volume, you don't have as much liquidity, you can get more slippage, which can create more risk. And so there's definitely more risk in trading the stocks that have lower or lighter volume. And to be honest, CDT was not, although it was a profitable trade, it wasn't the very best trade because of the fact that it kind of just went like, $1.60 to $4 and then didn't really give us a nice proper pullback. So if we looked at the stock that I made the most money on so far this month, we changed this view from week to the last 30 days here. What you would notice is that it was ALUR. Where is it? Instrument. So ALUR was the biggest winner. It's $47,000, which is good. Again, it's not like I'm going to retire on that, but it's, these are good trades. So ALUR, let's look at that chart for 1 second. This was a stock that was actually a lot. Let's see, how far back was it? All right. So this is a stock that actually gave us a much bigger move. Now, it was intraday. It was pre-market. Let's see. It might be. Let me see if I can pull up this trade over here. So, yeah, I've got one trade on it here, but this will show me the chart sort of zoomed in. So, do you see how this kind of makes a move? Pulls back. Second leg up, pulls back. Third leg up, pulls back. Fourth leg up. And then unfortunately they did an offering right at 9:30, which was very disappointing, but which was also not good for people who sat down right at 9:30. But nonetheless, this gave us sort of multiple opportunities to trade it. And that's why I was able to do so well on it, because I just kept trading it. When a stock just goes up 100, 200% in one candle, it's nice. You ride that momentum, but it's now so extended that shorts are like, oh, this is probably going to reverse. And then the question is, what's the real quality of the news? Because traders were quick to jump in it, but do we really understand the headline? That happened a little bit on Reborn Coffee on Friday, where they announced his financing commitments of up to $60 million, and the stock starts to pop up. And, it's kind of like, well, wait, financing commitments, is this good news or bad news? So traders sort of jumped on it, and then you had that actual sort of reversal that, no, actually, this isn't as good of news as people thought. Sometimes that happens even with the S&P 500 when, there's economic news, that the market will sort of swing one way and then goes back the other way. I think it's sometimes, traders just see it starting to inch one way just a teeny bit and then jump on it real quick. And then, bigger money comes in and sends it the actual way it's going to go. So, all right. I think at this point, you've got a good sense that my watch list for Monday is biotech, pharma stock. Now, I mean, this is my preference. It's possible that our number one leading gainer will not fall within that profile. It's possible, but this is where I've been making the most money. So if our leading gainer on Monday is a stock that is an energy company or it's a bank or something like that, I'm already going to be like, it's probably not going to be a home run for me. Maybe I'll get some base hits on it, and who knows, I could do okay on it, but it's probably not something I should get super aggressive on right now, most likely. So biotech pharmaceutical company. So that's kind of number one. Number two, let's talk about price for a second. What price am I doing the best on? We had TNXP on Friday that made a big move, but I was a little hesitant on it and I didn't end up trading it at all. It ends up making this, nice move from 12 to 18. Yes, it retraces it, but that's volatility. There's opportunity to make money in this type of move. And I didn't trade it. I just felt like it was a little too expensive. So if we jump back here, we'll just clear this out and we'll go back to year to date. So year to date, detailed. Let's look at the price. Okay, so the price stocks that I've been making the most on have actually been between 2 and 5. And then between 5 and 10, a little less, and between 10 and 20, a little less. And here's the thing. Well, I do have a higher distribution of trades in this area. So that tells us that there have just been more stocks in that price range that I've traded. But I can also take bigger share size. $100,000, at $2 a share is a lot more shares than $100,000 of a stock at $10, right? So all of a sudden, if it goes up 30, 40 cents a share with 40,000 shares, $16,000. These are big moves. 40 cents with 10,000 shares is 4,000. So all of a sudden, the moves can be bigger, or the profit can be bigger, the percentages are bigger when you're in the lower price range. So I get a little bit more aggressive. And I also usually feel more confident keeping my stops a little bit tighter, because usually when they're a little cheaper, usually the liquidity is a little bit better when they're cheaper. And then as they get more expensive, you start getting into bigger spreads and you can get a lot of slippage. So price, preferably, is going to be between 3 and 5 when it first hits my scanners, or I guess that says 2 and 5, but nonetheless, kind of in that range. Number 3, no question. Really at this point, a stock should be up at least 30%, if not higher, but it should be in the top 3, gainers on the day, percentage gainers, generally speaking. Number 4, relative volume times 5. Number 5, news, which is what creates that relative volume. Number 6, float under 10 million shares, right? So if and obviously it's better if it's under 1 million shares, or if the lower is better. So, let's just say on Monday, we see a stock that hits the scanner at 8 a.m. and it's $3.12. It's $3.12. It is a biotech stock, so check there. It's already up 30, 40, 50%. It's got volume spiking in, and the stock doesn't usually have volume right now, and there is news, check, and the float is low. What am I going to do? So what's that stock going to look like, first of all? It's most likely going to look like a big green candle like this on the 1-minute chart. So that's a 1-minute candle. So we get a big green candle like that, and what might happen is it does a little top, and then the next candle opens, and it just pushes even higher, like that. Another 1-minute candle. Let's zoom into this area right here. So these are 1-minute candles. So if we did 10-second candles, I'll just do it kind of like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6. So 6 10-second candles in 1 minute, right? It creates the topping tail. So that was the bottom. That's the top of the topping tail, and then that little pullback. I'm in right here, right? And then this is the next candle going up. So that's a micro pullback right there. Now, you may not be able to see it on the 1-minute time frame, but it is what happened. It's why you have a topping tail. It dipped down and then it goes higher. So then where are we seeing this? The level 2. So on the level 2, we've got the bid, we've got the offer. So let's say it goes up to, a high. It started at $3, 3 by 310. Maybe the spreads were a little bit big. It all of a sudden rips up to 340. Then it's at 370, right? 375, 390. hits $4. So it taps 4. And then the bid is at 385. A couple people sell. It dips back down. The offer drops back down to, 385. The bid goes down to 378. You've got like a 7-cent spread. So now we know what was our high, 4. Our high was 4 right here. So we dip down here for a moment. And as we're watching the time and sales showing every transaction that goes through, what we would have seen initially was a lot of green here, a lot of buying. And then we saw a little bit of selling. And what I usually look for is for that selling to pause. So it dips down for just a moment. And at that point, who knows, another 20,000 share seller could go through. But once the selling stops, I think, okay, the people who have taken profit have taken profit. The selling has paused. What's going to happen? Most likely, this is where buyers are going to come in. And what I usually look for is that first green order, because then that tells me someone else is like, all right, here we go. Now, sometimes I'll buy, even if there isn't that first green order, if this maybe comes down to a critical level, like, 350 psychological support, and the stock does meet all my criteria, maybe I'll be the one who says, you know what, I'm going to take some risk on this, and I'm going to try it here at 350 or 360, with a stop just below that, 10, 15 cents. And then we would see, is this going to keep going higher? So, the thesis on this is that this is a stock that fits the profile of the type of stocks that have given us the biggest moves recently. And I'm right now possibly one of the first people to see it because I have a tool that is scanning in real time for breaking news and for stocks experiencing volatility spikes. And I'm jumping in early. And as this continues going higher, people who are using less sophisticated tools are going to see it and they're going to buy it because they're thinking this is, the next big biotech stock, and I get to ride that momentum. So, this all sort of generally requires a good catalyst. It's true that this week there were a couple of trades that I took, like on QNTM, where it was a continuation setup. And with a continuation setup, you're sort of banking that people who are maybe swing trading this to the short side, thinking it was going to roll over and do a round trip, maybe even on day one, right? This would have its first pop, kind of rolls over, but then into the close, rallies back up. Next day, if you're still short, now you're getting a squeeze. Then shorts add, thinking it's going to fade, and then light volume creep the next day, and boom, boom, boom. Now it's starting to pull away. So that's the catalyst there is not as much news-based. It's more that you're expecting shorts to cover. It's a continuation setup. It can work in a hot market, but is inherently a little bit riskier. And as the price gets a little higher, that carries more risk as well. So I was able to trade it and make some money on it, but not the absolute easiest. So my watch list for Monday is actually not this week going to be specific stocks that I'm really dialed in on. Yes, we could look at our after hours top gainer scanner, and we could look at our continuation scanner and sort of say, well, these are stocks that have been strong in the recent trading sessions. And this is all true. But we're in a market right now where traders are pretty quick to jump on the next stock. And so my thought is that we're probably not going to see great follow through with any of these unless they have fresh news. So rather than spend a lot of time kind of going over stocks that might work, I think I'd rather just sit down bright and early, 7 a.m. Monday morning, and watch what's actually starting to move. So that's my game plan. And I hope you guys check out the 2-week trial. Again, the link's in the description, so you can check that out. And I will see you. I'll be live streaming 7 a.m. bright and early on Monday morning. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. Reminder, trading is risky. My results aren't typical. So please manage your risk, take it slow, and practice these new strategies you're learning in a safe, simulated environment before you put real money on the line. If you want to check out my episode on how to set up hotkeys in your trading or how to trade pre-market, those will be right here. Okay, I'll see you guys soon.